So Sabacc is honestly one of my favorite minigames in any game that I've played for a long time now. I've clocked about 55 hours in Star Wars Outlaws, and I genuinely think a good 5 or more of those hours have been spent just playing Sabacc. That's how much I like it, and it can also be very profitable as well, so it's definitely worth playing as much as you can. Now it can be quite difficult though, and so today I wanted to run you through the ultimate guide to dominating games of Sabacc in Star Wars Outlaws, from the basics of the game itself to every single cheat you can unlock to the best shift tokens, and I'm even going to throw in a live commentary match at the end so that you can sort of see my own thought process as I'm playing as well. So without wasting any time, let's get stuck right into it. Now, like I said, I'm going to quickly explain, I guess, the basics of the rules. Keep in mind there is a full tutorial section in the menu, as well as the first game that you play is also kind of a tutorial. So the game gives you all the info you need, and it probably explains it far better than I will, but it just kind of feels wrong to do a Sabacc guide and then not explain the rules. So simply put, the goal of Sabacc is to try and get a pair of cards, which is called a Sabacc hand, and the lower the numbers, the better that hand is. So a pair of 2s is better than a pair of 5s, for example, and the cards range from 1s to 6s. Now, in order to improve your hand, you can spend chips to draw new cards, but be careful spending those chips, as that is essentially the goal, to keep as many chips as you can, because the eventual winner is just a player who has chips left at the end. So if everyone has 0 chips left, but you have 1, you essentially win the game. Now, on top of the regular cards, there are then 2 special cards, those being the Psylop card and the Imposter card. The Psylop is the one with the small circle on it, and this one is the best card in the game. It just takes the value of your other card. So if you have a 1 and a Psylop card, that is counted as a pair of 1s, and you've got a really good hand. Get 2 Psylop cards, and that's called Pure Sabacc, the single best hand in the game, and it is a guaranteed win. As for the Imposter cards, these take the value of 1 of 2 dice rolls, so you'll roll the die and then get to choose which value you want. So it is kind of like a double chance at drawing a good card, if that makes sense. If you've got a good hand, you can just stand and save your chips until the reveal at the end of 3 turns, or if you want to improve your hand, you can spend a chip to draw a new card, and after 3 turns from each player, everyone reveals their cards and the best hand wins that round. The winner gets all of their chips back, while the other players get taxed a certain amount of chips depending on a wide range of different outcomes, and at the end of the day, it's not worth going through all of that because none of that really matters. At the end of the day, you need to win the round or have the best hand that you can, and if you don't, then you're going to get taxed. Anyone with 0 chips left after a reveal is eliminated from the game, and the game will essentially just continue until there's only 1 player left with chips, and that player wins the entire match, taking all of the credits entered into the pot. Now, on top of that, there is also the shift tokens as well, which can give you some slight advantages or be used against you as a disadvantage from other players, but I will get into 5 specific shift tokens you should be going out and getting later on in the video. So that's pretty much it for all of the general basics of Sabacc. Again, if you get stuck, there is a tutorial in game, so check that out. The game is very easy to learn, and I'm not very good at card games, so that says quite a lot. Now, the next area we're going to go through is the 3 different cheats that you can get to make yourself essentially better at the game. In most other games, cheating is seen as a negative thing, whereas in Sabacc, in Star Wars Outlaws, it's kind of the point of the game. The more you use your cheats, the more likely you are to win. Now, the first cheat is just using nicks to actually peek, and you'll have that from the very beginning of the game. You can pretty much just peek at all of the other players' cards and see what they have, which is very useful information. Now, there are 2 more cheats though that you do need to unlock through different experts, and I'm not going to spoil experts because even though Ubisoft have shared them plenty of times in the lead up to the game, apparently people are still mad if I show these experts. So I'm just going to cover them up and you guys can figure out their names for yourself. Now, from this expert in the bottom right, who you meet on Akiva shortly after landing via the mention of a Sabacc tournament, simply doing their introductory mission that allows them to become an expert, you will unlock this one right away without even needing to actually unlock the ability. If you have this expert, then the ability will be unlocked. This ability, or I guess this cheat, is called double drawing, and this just means that you are sneakily able to draw 2 cards at once without anyone seeing, which essentially just doubles your chances of getting the card that you want. And you might often draw a number and then an imposter card, for example, and you can actually keep the imposter card as kind of a backup, so it works out in more than one way. As for the second cheat that's unlocked through an expert, this is the magnetic dice, and this one is probably the most clutch in the entire game. You'll need to unlock it through this expert. I'm not going to really spoil the name, but he's just a Jawa that you meet throughout the storyline, and ND5 mentions him, and he's essentially impossible to miss. So you will eventually meet this expert. All you need to do is do a mission for him to unlock him as an expert. He will just ask you to go and get something, and I won't spoil that mission. It's a really cool mission, so definitely recommend doing that. And then once you come back, you'll have him as an expert. Now, after that, you'll need to find 15 Sylvian iron and 6 direct energy circuits. Now, as you can see, I had heaps of these without even trying. So these are just sort of those materials that are found all around the world. There is no particular place to find them, so just exploring or doing side missions will gather these in no time. You then need to find a specific item called the LC3 Skifter, and you can actually find it here on the map and mark it so that it's very easy to find. Now, it just gives you a general area, so once you get here, you just want to head up this path and you will find a blocked area. Just blow that up with the power shot from your blaster, and then just pretty much follow along that path. It's essentially impossible to get lost. Eventually, after climbing up the cliff face, you'll come to this area with 3 turrets, and you essentially just need to blow up their power supplies to take them out. Now, one is over behind a blocked wall to the right, so again, use that power shot. One is up here on this little ledge area, and then the other is right near the turret closest to the door behind another blocked wall. Now, all 3 are very easy to find because their power leads, which you can see along the ground, show where to find the power supply. So just follow those leads, take those power supplies out, and the turrets will go down. After that, you can then head through this door, and in the chest, you'll find the part that you need. And there you have the magnetic dice ability. Now, like I said, this ability allows you to essentially control the number when you roll. So if you get an imposter card, you'll roll, and it pretty much guarantees you a really good number, provided you get the minigame right. This cheat is very, very handy, and like I said, it's probably the best of the 3. It can pretty much win you games on the spot. If you get a 1 and an imposter card, you are all but guaranteed to win that round. Now, before we go any further, if you guys are enjoying the video so far and you are interested in more Star Wars Outlaws content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. There is plenty more content on the way, so make sure you don't miss out. Now, next up, I'm going to go through some of the best shift tokens you can have. Like I said, these are kind of just little extra hands that you can play throughout a game that will give you an advantage, and the ones that I'm going to mention are definitely some of the best in the game. Keep in mind, there are some other ones that are definitely worth getting as well. These are just the ones that I think are the most useful, but if you head into your collectibles tab, you'll find a list of pretty much all of them, and it tells you where to get them. Now, the first one is the Refund Token. This one allows you to retrieve 2 chips, which can come in very handy if you've had a heap of chips taken from you in that hand. All you need to do to get this one is head to this bar up the top level of the Miragana market, listen to this conversation, and then after that, head back downstairs and along this path into this little alleyway. Eventually, you'll come to a vendor who you can say the secret password to that you just learned from that conversation, and he'll open his shop for you, and from there, you can buy the token. The next shift token is the extra refund token, which is pretty much the exact same as that last one, but gives you 3 chips instead of 2, so it's even better than that last one. I thought I would just include the first one anyway, because if you want, you can actually bring both of these along, and that allows you to retrieve 5 chips throughout a game, which is pretty clutch. Now, this one is a little bit more difficult to get your hands on. It can be found in the Syndicate Vault on Tatooine, which is in the Hutt territory. So what you want to do is head to the Hutt territory in Mos Eisley. You can find it just here on the map. Now, if your reputation's good enough, you can actually just walk in, but it will need to be excellent to get in here. If not, however, you can sneak in through this area on the map instead, and then from here you just want to stealth your way into the back area of the map, taking out this guard and then heading into the little back section of this territory. Jump down into this area and take out the 2 guards here as well. Use this terminal to open the security door, and then head inside and you'll find another guard. Be sure to take him out, and then around the corner you'll find the final guard and just take him out as well. Now, from this window you can ask Nix to open the security door and then enter. Make sure to pick up everything in the room and then hack into the terminal, and that will start the Vault quest line. Now, from here, I'm not going to hold your hand. It is very simple to follow what the game tells you. It gives you 3 cards to find, and luckily it locates them all on the map, so they're very easy to find. Most of them will require a little bit of fighting or at least some elite use of stealth if you don't want to go in guns blazing. In my opinion, though, the best thing to do is just to take out all of the guards, and then you are kind of free to explore the area until you find that key card. If you do get stuck on this section though, be sure to leave a comment down below and I can try and help you out if I can. Now, once you have all 3 of those key cards, just head back to the vault that I just ran you through. If you do it quick enough, you can actually get back before those guards will respawn, so they're pretty much all dead and you can just walk straight through. Once you get back, you will be able to enter the actual vault, open the chest, and you'll get a cool skin as well as that extra refund shift token, which is probably one of the most clutch tokens in the game. Now, next up we have the Exhaustion shift token. This one allows you to choose a player, and then they actually have to dismiss their hand and draw draw 2 new cards. Now this one is really good if you've used Nix to spy on their cards. If someone has a winning hand or just a better hand than yours, you can pretty much screw them over. This can turn it from a guaranteed loss to a guaranteed win. There's also another shift token in the same location though. This is the immunity shift token, and it makes you immune to all shift tokens until the next hand reveal. For me, this is in every single deck that I ever play. It's very good for if you've got a good hand and you don't want anyone to screw you over. Some people can use shift tokens where they will actually swap cards with you, and so if you've got a really good hand, this one can essentially guarantee a win, which makes it very useful. Now both of these, like I said, are found at the same spot, and you need to win a game at the Crimson Dawn table on Kijimi. This one's very simple, and it is actually part of the quest to unlock one of the experts that I mentioned earlier, so it's pretty much impossible to miss. But if you do want to do it before then, you can just find the Crimson Dawn table here on the map in Kijimi City. I think you do need a good reputation with them though, unless there is a secret way to sneak in that I haven't actually found yet. Like I said, win a game and you will win both of those shift tokens, which are both very handy. Now finally, we have got the target tariff shift token. This one allows you to choose a player to tax 2 chips from, and it's very useful if someone is kind of just in a better position than you to win. This can turn the tide if they aren't able to actually draw any more cards. This one is pretty much exactly the same as that hut vault that I mentioned earlier, except this is the Pike Syndicate Vault on Miragana. It is a lot easier to do as well than the Tatooine one, so it's pretty much the same concept, but a little bit easier. Now, in the same location where you can buy the refund token from that vendor that I mentioned earlier, right next to that is where you can actually slip into Pike territory unseen. From here, just head over to the left and avoid the guards. I'm going to assume all of you have a bad reputation with the Pikes because, let's be honest, fuck the Pikes. So you are most likely going to need to sneak through this area. Now, over in this corner, you'll find an alleyway where you'll also find a camera. Get Nix to turn it off, and you will then be free to kind of hack into this vent and enter into the vault room. From here, access the terminal, and that will start this vault quest. Exactly the same as the hut one, you just need to find 3 key cards, which will all get marked on the map. And once you get all 3 of those, you can come back, open the vault, and in this chest, you'll find the target tariff shift token, and this will complete what I think is the best 5 shift tokens to own that you can kind of switch between depending on the game and the table that you're currently playing at. Now, like I said, I'm actually going to run you guys through a bit of a live commentary match just so you can get a better look at my thought process as to like when to use the cheats, when to use the shift tokens and that sort of thing. I find, at least for myself, when it comes to learning stuff like this, I find I learn a lot better when I'm actually shown a proper example of it rather than just someone telling me the rules, for example. So I thought I'd run you guys through a proper match here. We are at a high roller table against Bosnok. And so the only downside of this is I can't show you the Nix cheat. I think because Bosnok is sitting behind, it means that he would obviously see Nix cheating. So I think they've ruled that out for this one. Certain high roller tables do have some slightly different rules. So I won't be able to show that off, but that is something that's very easy to pick up anyway. So let's get stuck into this game. Now, the tokens that I'm going to run for this one is the extra refund. This just, it's obviously kind of goes without saying, being able to pick up 3 chips that can save you in a really dire situation. So I'm going to run that one. I'm also then going to run the target tariff chip just because that can allow me to kind of target Bosnok. He is a high roller, so he's kind of better than everyone else. And so I'm going to kind of try to target him throughout the game. And then I'm also going to run the immunity shift token as well. This will just mean that if I get a really good hand early, I can use that. And it means no one's going to kind of screw me over, because I've had some games where I've had really good hands and then someone actually steals the hand off me and stuff like that. So those are the tokens I'm going to run for this one. That doesn't mean these are the best 3 to always run. These are generally the 3 that I run. But for example, if I was to lose this game, I might, you know, sit down and play again and switch out to different tokens. So keep that in mind. But with that being said, we are going to jump right into the game. Now, the first thing to keep in mind is that you can play the game in essentially fast mode. As you can see, if I press the left trigger, that will turn it back to the regular pace, but it goes very slow. So I'd recommend just turning fast mode on if you guys didn't know about that. Now, I've got a really annoying hand here because I've actually got Sabacc, but it's not ideal because it's a very high number. I'm thinking it's actually still worth standing though. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to play the immunity cards so that no one can kind of screw me over here, because I've had times where people actually steal my cards and then they go on to win. So I've got a decent hand there, and so I'm going to play that immunity card, and then I'm just going to stand through this round. It probably won't get me a win because I feel like someone will have a lower Sabacc than me, but it can also prevent me, even if I don't win, for example, I won't lose that many chips. So it's not too bad, and that immunity is, yeah, kind of clutch that it means no one can really screw me over here. So what I might do is, because I'm not going to be really playing too much in this first round, I'm actually going to then use the target Tariff, and I'm actually going to target Bosnok here because he's the high roller. He's the one to kind of beat. He generally will win at this table if it's not you winning. So I'm going to target Bosnok and kind of screw him over, try and get him out of the game early since I'm not really doing anything else. It's a bit of a waste, even if I'm not, you know, I'm just standing right now, but even if I'm standing, it's worth still trying to play the game and set things up early. So hopefully Bosnok doesn't come back to screw me over later on. He's just retrieved 3 chips, so that kind of just was a fucking waste of time, but keep in mind, I've still kept him lower than he would be initially. So we're once again going to stand. Like I said, this is a bit of a rough first example because it's just one of those hands that's not that good. It's also not that bad. I think I'll probably end up either winning or I'll potentially come second. If this guy can roll a Sabacc, that'll obviously win. He didn't get one, and so I actually win that. Yeah, so that was still worth me hanging on there. And now everyone's down to 2 chips. There's only 2 people left, so that's actually a very lucky start for me. It's probably a good example of how to use some of those tokens. The only thing now that I don't like is I got rid of this immunity token early, and if you look at my cards, I've got a very good hand here. If I can try and draw a 1, then that means I would get pretty much an unbeatable hand unless someone had a double Psylop. So although this is a good hand, I don't know what other shift tokens these guys have. So it's looking good now, but I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not going to lie. Someone could definitely steal this hand. That being said, they've both only got 2 chips left and I've got 8. So I'm in a very good position. I'm essentially going to keep drawing, and I'm going to show you guys the double draw cheat that you can do. So I'm going to keep the Psylop, obviously. For those who don't know, that's the best card in the game. And I want to essentially get this yellow card to be the lowest I can possibly get it. Hopefully a 1. I'm going to activate that double draw, and then we just need to play the little mini game down the bottom, keep the icon in that safe area, and that is a successful double draw there. And we got 2 1s, so I've pretty much won at this point. I'm going to get rid of, I'm just going to double discard just because, in fact, actually, no, I'm not going to double discard in case someone steals my hand. I'm going to keep that 1. So I'll just discard the 5 and then pretty much just need to stand for the rest of the game. The only way I don't win this is if someone plays a shift token that completely screws me over, which I'm not going to lie to you is very possible. I almost want to draw. Yeah, I'm kind of, this is a bit stupid. I wouldn't recommend doing this in a game, but just to show you guys the magnetic dice cheat, I'll just show it off because I've got that spare 1 anyway. But this is something I wouldn't recommend doing in a game trying to win because I've got pretty much a perfect hand there. So I'll discard that 1, and then that means we've got an imposter card and a spare 1 in the back pocket. Now, the only thing is if someone, yeah, this guy screwed me over, but luckily I've got that spare 1. He just set the imposter value to 6, meaning I can't roll anymore, and that's a 6 now. Luckily for me, I've got the spare 1, so it didn't really matter. And so I'm just going to stand here. That guy just kind of screwed what I was trying to show you guys. But yeah, I got the guaranteed win anyway. Essentially, the only way I can lose that hand is if someone has a double Psylop. So there we have it. We've knocked out the Trandoshan, and now it's just a 1v1. Now, I have still got, luckily, the imposter card from the previous round. You do keep them between rounds. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep that imposter card. I also know that it was this character over on the left that played that shift token, and they've got none left. So it means what I can do here is draw this 1. That's a guaranteed 1 for me. And then I can show you that magnetic dice cheat, which is going to pretty much guarantee that I get a 1. And then this will be a very good hand. So I'm going to discard the 2 there. We've now got a 1 and an imposter card, which normally isn't that great of a hand, but because I can cheat with the dice, it's pretty much a guaranteed win again. So I'm going to stand, and we're just going to get through to the end of this game. We are then going to stand once again, and then that is game over. Now, what I can do here is that cheat that I was talking about, the magnetic dice. You can activate it down the bottom there, and then you just need to time it. As you can see, we landed it and we got a guaranteed 1, take the value of 1. And that means we've got a very, very good hand, which they simply aren't going to beat. They got a Sabacc, but luckily I managed to beat them anyway. So that is a successful game there of Sabacc. Even at a high roller table, it is pretty damn easy once you get these cheats and the shift tokens. And so hopefully that shows you guys a good example of how much of an impact those can make. It doesn't matter how good you are at Sabacc. without the cheats and without the tokens, it's down to a lot of luck, whereas with the cheats and tokens, it's kind of putting the luck in your favor a little bit more. You can still definitely lose, but it just makes it a lot easier with all of those things that I mentioned throughout the video. So hopefully that's a good example of how to play Sabacc with these shift tokens and with the cheats. If you guys have any questions, be sure to leave a comment down below. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the force be with you always.